Welcome to Rethink Your Legacy. I'm Francisco Servent. I'm so glad you joined us. This is a show designed to help you live out your family values before you leave this world. This is what I'm super excited that you're listening today, because we have a really important thing to talk about with back to school happening. It's happening in a completely different version this year than any of us have ever experienced. I've got 4 kids. Our twins are going into 7th grade. Then we've got our next daughter, who's going into 6th grade, and our youngest guy going into 3rd grade. This is just a whole new world, right? They're talking about not going back to school in person. At least that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. It's just a whole different world. And as an estate planning attorney, where all I do all day long every day is I help people figure out how to protect their families. That's what I want to cover today, is how to protect you and your kids. Because the question for today is where do my kids go if mom and dad don't get home from date night? Kind of a scary question. And it's not one that me and my wife even ever want to entertain. I mean, we try really hard to get a date night out at least once a week. But it seems that when this topic comes up, we just freeze. You know, when it comes up with my friends or my sisters or my clients, right? It just, we parents, we freeze. We just don't want to talk about this. And I get it. It's a scary topic. There's really not many things that are scarier as thinking of, my gosh, what would happen if I left this world and left my kids behind? This is kind of, this kind of hit my face in a real way when I saw that a father was killed in a car accident in Glendale just a couple weeks ago. His daughter was actually in the car with him. But just like that, life's over. It's gone in a blink. And we just, we never know. I think the last time I looked up statistics on car accidents in Arizona, we were facing about 3 people every day. 3 people every day were actually dying in a car accident here in Arizona. And we can't ignore that as parents. I'm a man of values, at least I try to be. And if we claim to be people of values, that we care about our family, we would do anything for them. I would do anything for my kids. I would do anything for my wife. Then why wouldn't I take care of this? I've got to look at this issue straight in the face and deal with it and just slay it like it's a demon. So what we're going to cover today is I'm going to go over a case study on this and what happens when parents like me, and maybe like you, you are listening, or maybe you've got grandkids, and maybe your kids have kids who are little. They're under the age of 18. We're going to cover a case study on this. We're going to talk about the legal documents that you need if you have kids under 18, or these are your grandkids, right? If you have grandkids under the age of 18, this is the documents that their parents, your kids, need to get in place. And then we will wrap up today with some Q&A, all right? So I've gotten some great questions from the audience, from our listeners, and if you have questions, you can jump straight over to our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, or shoot us an email, radio@keystonelawfirm.com, and we will make sure to get them, and I'll do everything I can to get them answered right here on the show. So y'all are living this right now, right? We're back to school. We're planning back to school. Are we going to be all virtual? Are we ever going to get back into the classroom? The teachers are concerned for their safety. The parents are concerned for their sanity. We're concerned for our kids' sanity and their social development. But, we understand that we've got to look at this from lots of different angles. And if we look around the world, there are other countries that are doing things and are already in school and are seeing results. And so, we've got to take all this information in and learn from it. As people in education, we want our education system to be making wise and sound decisions. not decisions that are just based on fear mongering or completely sticking our heads in the sand, right? We don't want to be making decisions from either end of that perspective or spectrum. We want to be making sound, rational decisions based on the truth, based on reality. And that's why we're going to tackle this tough topic today. What I encourage you who are listening is to don't let that anxiety that builds up when you hear about this topic, don't let that control you. Don't let that anxiety, that feeling of, oh my gosh, I can't talk about this. Don't let that feeling stop you from doing what you need to do. Okay, this is your family. These are your kids. There's nothing more important. So let's do it, right? Let's dig in and cover it. Because I understand there's a lot of fear right now going around, especially right now with the pandemic, and millions of people have lost their jobs. Unemployment's at its highest ever, and so there is just a lot of emotional. There's an emotional roller coaster happening, and I acknowledge that, and I'm amazed by the people who are still pushing through and saying, you know what, I'm going to lead my family through this, and I'm not going to be Chicken Little running around with my head like my head was cut off. So if you've got kids that are under 18, or you've got grandkids that are under 18, whether they're here in Arizona or anywhere in the world, really, this is an issue they've got to deal with, because the scenario that comes up is just too scary to ignore. Okay. Now, before I lay the foundation here, if you're already just like freaking out and you're like, Francisco, solve this for me, great. Give us a call, 480-750-7788. That is our office phone number. Leave a message and my team will get back to you as soon as possible the next business day to figure out how we can help, whether it's sending you a free resource or getting you an appointment. But the story that drives me to do this and to make sure you know this information is what would happen if my wife and I, what would happen if you and your spouse, or if you're a single parent, if you were out, on an evening and you had, what happens? Just imagine, right? What does happen? You move heaven and earth to get a babysitter first, right? I mean, that's the first thing that we do, is we literally move heaven and earth to get a babysitter to come watch our crazy kids. Our kids aren't too crazy, thank God, but it takes some effort to get that done, right? You finally get a babysitter. You finally line everything up. Everything's working, and you get to go out, and you're out, right? You're out having dinner, having drinks, whatever it is you do. And you're having a really good time. It's relaxing. It's rejuvenating right now with lots of restaurants closed. Not everybody's even going out. So maybe your date night is, you take a bottle of wine and you go overlook the valley somewhere. You go sit on a bluff. I don't know. But you're out and you're getting some rejuvenation. That's some magic, really, for a lot of us, as we need those moments. We need those intimate moments with our spouse. On your way home, you're just headed home, whatever direction it is, and bam, it happens. You are one of the three people. You both didn't have another minute to plan, didn't have another minute to give instructions. What would happen? That's what we're going to cover today. What would happen from that moment forward, where you don't get to tell your kids anything, you don't get to tell the grandparents anything, you don't get to tell your siblings or anybody anything. How does that play out? What happens next? This is what we do at Keystone Law Firm every day, is we help families stare this scenario in the face, as scary as it is, which it is scary, and we help them overcome it. We help them get past it. And if you're ready to do that, then I invite you, call. What we do first in our office is a discovery hour. It's really a no pressure, it's a discovery. It's a time for you to figure out who we are and for us to figure out who you are and to see if we're a good fit and if there's even anything we need to do for you. All you need to do is you just call 480-750-7788. You can also jump on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and we've got a schedule button right there. You can just find a time and book it. And that first appointment, you're going to do most of the talking. You're going to help us and my team learn about your family, your issues, your goals, what's happening. Then we're going to switch and really make sure we understand what are your goals here. Do we know what it is you want? Because I've seen too many lawyers take their clients down insane strategies, paths, and into super complicated things that the clients never even wanted. So we want to make sure we understand your goals. And then third, we just lay out your options, just black and white, crystal clear, A, B, C. So let's pick this up. What would happen if you were on a date, kids were at home with a babysitter, and you never made it home? This is the tough thing we're tackling right now. And we're going to walk this through as if it were a case study. So I want you to hear this and how it works, because the more you know about this, the better you can protect your kids, your family. This is the most important thing. If you're on a date and you don't make it home, okay, remember, this was a car accident. You didn't get a second. You didn't get a minute to send off a text or anything. Who are your kids with? That's the number one thing. That's the first thing, right? You would know, right? You would know your kids would be with somebody, whether it's the babysitter, it's the grandparents, it's at a friend's house, whatever it is, they're with someone. Okay, you were supposed to be home at what time? Fill in the blank, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, 2 in the morning, whatever the arrangement was. You were supposed to be home at whatever time, and you didn't show up. Okay, you're not there. What's next? Well, say you agreed to be home by about 10 or 11. Okay, 11 o'clock comes. What does the babysitter do? Kind of nothing. Maybe they've put the kids to bed. Maybe the kids are still up. I don't know, right? I mean, I would think at 11, they're not going to start freaking out. 11:15, they might be looking at their watch. 11:30, they're probably like, okay, what's going on? They're a little bit late. Fine, they're having fun. 11:45, midnight, 12:30, 1 a.m. Certainly by 1 a.m., I know anybody who's babysat for us, they would start to get concerned. They would probably be sending us a text message and saying, you guys good? At some point, that text message is going to go out, right? And what's going to happen? Babysitter is not going to get a response. Maybe, right? If emergency personnel, EMTs, police department was at the scene of the accident, they would see the text message come through. Maybe not. If they did, certainly that's going to clue them in to, hey, who are you, right? And maybe they'll be able to track down where your babysitter is calling from. But the very next thing that happens is as soon as the babysitter makes contact with the EMTs, the police, whoever it is, they're going to send somebody, police department, to the house and knock, knock, knock. And whoever answers the door, they're going to say, I'm sorry to deliver this bad news. And they're going to deliver the bad news that you're not making it home tonight. The very next thing is going to be a discussion about the kids. And when the police department is involved and there are minor children involved, the question that's going to come up is who has priority, who has legal authority to have the kids. And if the person who answers the door there, if that person isn't armed with something to show the police, I'm authorized, right? Especially if it's a friend or just a college student or teenager who's babysitting, and there's nobody around that has family. If you don't have family around, then especially they're going to say, we're going to call in social services. We're going to call in, it's not CPS anymore in Arizona, but Arizona's CPS. And a social worker is going to come to the house. And that social worker is going to do a assessment. They're going to assess the situation right then, right there. Can we legally leave the children here in this home? I can't imagine if my kids were either awake or asleep and the authorities were outside talking about, can they leave the kids in my home? And they're about to find out mom and dad are never coming home. If things aren't in place, they're going to have to. They're required to follow the law and place your children in the custody or temporary custody of somebody who has authority. And a lot of times that's kids. We're getting in my car, the social worker's car, and we're going downtown until we can figure this out. Right after my kids figure out that me and my wife are dead, that is the last place I want them going. That is the last place I want them going. This was a shock to me when I learned about this, and it was drilled in as a reality when I learned about a colleague's story who this is exactly what happened to her. If you don't want this to happen to your kids, if you want to make sure this never happens to them, give us a call right now, 480-750-7788, and we will get you scheduled for a discovery hour to figure out what your options are. This colleague of mine, another lawyer, actually went through this when she was a kid. Her parents passed away unexpectedly. Her and her brother were taken into custody by social services. And this was when they were, I think, 7 and 10 years old, quite important ages in their development. And she literally was bounced around foster homes for the first couple months until finally they placed her and her brother into a permanent foster care home while the family battled out the custody in courts. And guess what this permanent, temporary, longer-term foster home was? It was a group home that actually what it turned out to be was a real live cult where her and her brother were being raised in this absolutely bizarre setting. But it was an approved foster facility. And they spent 9 months there while their family basically had a custody battle. And then they got placed with a family member and life started to get better. Right now in Arizona, there's over 14,000 kids already in that system. There's already 14,000 kids. Now, I know in Arizona, most of these are from either, there was a parental neglect situation or an abandonment or something, horrific. But what this means, what this tells me and you, is that system, and we already know this, but that system is completely overwhelmed. It is completely overwhelmed. I believe in my heart of hearts that they are doing the best they can with what they have, but it's just not set up for developing the brightest and best experience for our kids. And so what do we have to do? What do we have to do for our kids to make sure this never, ever happens? Oh my gosh. Well, that's what our next section is going to be. It's going to be how to actually protect your family, your kids, so this never happens. It's not even an option. Because the last thing any of us want is for our kids to go through this. Now, if you are ready to take that next step, if you are just like, Francisco, I don't need to listen to another word, get me the solution. the best next step for you is to call our office and speak with our staff, speak with our team, 480-750-7788. Unlike most law firms out there, we don't charge by the hour. We're not nickel and diming you to death every minute you're on the phone with us. The first call, my team's not going to charge you anything. Just talk to them, ask your questions, and they will do everything that they can to answer them. If you need more one-on-one information, what they will do is they'll explain to you our process of coming in and having what we call a discovery hour. So the discovery hour is completely different than what most law firms out there do, because I found I used to just do all kinds of free initial consultations. And what I did as a lawyer was I actually scared people half to death. During that consultation, I barfed out so much information that it just confused the heck out of them. Because what can you really do in a free initial consultation? And the lawyers who are doing those, they're not working on their clients' matters who've already paid them. And so I felt it just tear me away from clients who already said, we want you to do something for us. And now I'm in this free consultation where I'm trying to barf out all kinds of answers and razzle dazzle somebody. And it was awkward. It was too high pressure. And so we just completely changed that. And we made a really low key, easy first appointment. That's why we call it a discovery hour. It's for you just to kind of figure out what happens and what are your options. And so you're going to teach us, my team, a lot about your family, your situation, what your goals are. Because my team can then just lay out, look, here are the options, and you can know exactly what they are. We do 100% flat fee, so you're never on the clock with us. That way you can take care of your affairs and not worry about this. So jump on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, or give us a call, 480-750-7788. So we talked about a hypothetical case study. We talked about some crazy thing that happens with CPS if you are in that situation and you don't make it home from a date night. What happens? And let's switch gears a little bit, because I want you to know and understand what are the tools that you use to actually protect this, to actually keep this from happening, so that, my God, if the worst comes to worst, your kids are at least with somebody you know will love them the way you would want them to. First, these are the documents. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 documents that need to be part of your toolkit in protecting your kids. The first one is you've got to designate what are called permanent guardians. Okay, permanent guardians are the people who are going to, if you can't, right, if the parents can't, they're going to raise your children up until they're 18, as you would. And even obviously beyond that, right? We all know parenting doesn't end at 18, but they're going to be legally responsible for rearing your children from the emergency all the way through when they're 18. That's the permanent guardian. Okay, that usually goes inside of a last will and testament. That's where it usually goes, though it can be its own separate document. Now, that has to be signed by you. It's got to be signed by 2 witnesses, and we recommend a affidavit that you, the witnesses, and a notary sign as well, though that notary thing is extra. That's the permanent guardian. That's the long-term thing that most people think about when they think about naming guardians for their kids, is naming it for that long term. Now, there's a second document in this set that you've got to have. It can't be, you can't miss this. So remember the case study that I described where you didn't make it home from date night. If you don't make it home from date night, the police show up at the door. The babysitter opens the door. The police are going to say, who's got authority? If all you have is permanent guardians, and let's say they live out of state. I mean, I know, it might be your first, your number one person might live in another state full time. Well, they're not going to be there immediately. It might take a day. It might take 2. It might take 3. It might take a couple days to get there. It might take a couple hours to get there. Maybe they live across town. And so your permanent guardians may not be there immediately during the emergency. So you've got to have the second thing, which is your temporary or emergency guardians. That's the second document you have to have. Now, on this one, you can list as many people as you want. Nobody has priority over another. You're basically saying, hey, all of the people on this list, they're allowed to have my kids. They can have them on a temporary basis until the permanent guardians get in town or can get them. That's the second document. The third one is you've got to have a trust for your kids. That way they don't, right? If you just name them as beneficiaries on your life insurance policy, like say I have life insurance, I name my wife as my beneficiary, and say you name your kids as the contingent beneficiary. Well, if they are minors when you die, that money is going to go and it's going to cost thousands of dollars to get it set up and controlled by the court. It has to be controlled by the court. And then guess what? On their 18th birthday, they get all of it. They get 100% of their share. Poof, all of it. So you don't want that. You want to set up a trust for your kids. That way the money can be there to take care of them while they're kids, but then holds it for them until they get a little bit older. Maybe sends them to college, maybe helps them with their first marriage, maybe buys a car, whatever. But then they don't get a big pile of cash until they're older. And you can kind of decide on what that age is. That's the third document, that living trust. The fourth one is you need to have for yourself. Okay, you have one for your kids, that emergency guardian, but you need to have an emergency agent for yourself. That's like an emergency contact. And that's basically somebody who is allowed to take care of your house, take care of your pets, take care of your immediate papers and belongings, call the hospital, see what's going on. They have your permission to do that. It's that emergency contact in a legal designation, okay? And then the fifth thing you need to have is a set of babysitter instructions. Okay, that babysitter instruction packet that tells the babysitter, here's what to do in the event of an emergency. It's not a thing you just, whip out and stuff in a drawer somewhere. No, this is something that needs to go on the fridge. It's got to have certain legally signed documents in it, and it's got to have instructions for the babysitter. You don't want them making a mistake during that emergency and then with it ending up your kids going into CPS care, okay? So that has the step-by-step procedures with the legal documents that they need to be able to protect your kids. Those are the 5 things. Now, if you're ready, if you're just like, give it to me, how do I do this? Give us a call, 480-750-7788. Ask my team. We call it a Keystone Kids Plan, and they'll help you get that set up. Now, that's the kids stuff. There's a whole another set of documents that pertain to you, the parents, okay? And these are just as critical, but I separated them because I want you to really be able to focus on the kid stuff in one packet. And now for you, here's the other stuff, okay? There's 4 things that I recommend. The first one is these only pertain to you if the car accident leaves you disabled. Okay, maybe paralyzed or causes some other health issues that then you can't take care of business. So the first thing you need to have is a power of attorney for finances. You need to have a power of attorney for finances so that someone else can pay your bills, manage your investments, sell your house if needed, buy a new house, whatever. All the money, property, asset, investment, retirement account, all of that stuff. That's for the power of attorney. The second thing is a healthcare power of attorney. This is who can make decisions for you if you're unconscious and in the hospital, or even if you had some type of a brain injury and it was a long-term declining mental capacity, then they can make medical decisions for you. They can talk to the doctors. They can do all that kind of stuff. The third thing is we've all got to have a last will and testament. We just have to. I know it's this old-fashioned thing that a lot of people are like, no, I'm married. It's simple. I don't need to do all that stuff. No, we all have to in this day and age. Nobody does anything automatically anymore. That's what a last will and testament is for, is to make sure that it's that's just another piece of the whole puzzle. And then fourth thing is a asset report. Now, what I mean by this is a list, and I've covered this in other episodes in detail, but a very detailed list of your financial life. Now, if you work with a financial advisor, a lot of times they'll do that for you. I know Keystone Wealth Partners, our sister company, they do that for their clients, and they manage and maintain it all in a client portal that you have access to, and you can watch and see everything. But that's just necessary, right? Your whole financial life has to be captured in one central spot, just to make it so that your kids don't lose out on what you've been building for them. And that's where you'll store your life insurance policies as well for them. Okay. So if you're ready to do something about this, I encourage you. Good job for listening this far into the episode. This can be tough stuff. And a lot of people, we want to stick our heads in the sand. I get it. There are things in my life that I do too. This is your call. This is your time to say, I'm going to stop procrastinating, because that's the only reason, and it's just an excuse. So stop procrastinating. Jump on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. We've actually got a checklist for you if you want to download that on all these things, what to do for your kids to protect them. You can also call the office, 480-750-7788. Or on Facebook, you feel free to shoot us a message or drop us a comment, and we'll make sure to get you information that you ask for. And what we're going to cover now are a couple, I think these are relevant questions that you might have. So here's the first one. What we got was a question that said, at what age can the kids actually get some money out of the trust? Right? If you set up a trust for them, then is it locked up? Is it frozen? What's going to happen to the money? Well, you set up the trust because if you don't do that, remember we said and the parents pass away, all of your money, all of your life insurance, your retirement accounts, everything that you leave to them while they are minors gets frozen in a court-controlled system. Okay, that whole system will freeze all that money, make it very expensive for them to get access to it, makes it very expensive for them to use any of it, even while they are kids. There's there's a court case, it's called a conservatorship, that goes until they're 18, and then at their 18th birthday, guess what? Poof, they get a whole pile of cash. And yeah, I don't know what I would have done with a whole pile of cash on my 18th birthday, but it probably wouldn't have been good. Actually, that was last week's episode, is what would you have done with $100,000 on your 18th birthday? So don't do that. Set up a trust form. That's what this question is. Set up a trust form. So a trust, the way it works is if the parents pass away, money goes into the trust, it's for the kids while they are minors. And you handpick a friend or somebody who's in charge of that money, right? While the kids are alive, while the kids are young. It doesn't have to be the person who is raising the kids. It doesn't have to be the guardian. It doesn't have to be the same person. It can be different people, and oftentimes it should be different people. I know for myself and my wife, we've actually put a professional in charge of the money to manage it, pay the bills, do the budget, all of that, because we just don't want the money thing to be a source of conflict for anybody. And so the money's going to be managed by a professional. And our kids are going to be raised by somebody that we trust, right? That's who's going to raise our kids day to day. And they're going to work together to set up a budget and pay the bills and make sure they have enough money for everything that the kids need. So while they are growing, while they're young, the money can be used out of the trust as needed, basically as much of it as needed. So that's where I put my life insurance. It's going into that trust so that it's there for the kids as needed, as much as they need, right? There's no limit while they are young, period. And since we have 4 kids, they're different ages. Well, we have twins, so they're the same age, but then we have 2 more, so they are different ages. But the way that trust is set up is it goes through a what's called a common trust. So while they are all young, it stays in one pool altogether, and it can be used on them in different amounts. It doesn't have to be they all get the same amount, every week or anything, right? just like as a parent, you'll spend a little more on this one when they need it or that one when they need it or whatever, right? I mean, my daughter's going through allergy shots right now, and we're spending money on that. We're not going to say, oh, sorry, Bella, you don't get that because of, or, right? It just, we'll spend money unequally on them as they need it. And that's what the common trust allows you to do. And then once the youngest, so if you've got a few, once the youngest one hits a certain age, right, then it gets split into their equal shares. So in our situation, I think we have it set at 25. When Zach, the youngest, hits 25, whatever's left gets split into 4 shares, and that's when it becomes their inheritance at that age. So you can pick any age you want. You can pick even more stages of life to make distribution. It doesn't have to all go at that age. We don't have it all going at the age of 25. But that's kind of how that trust would work. Now, if you're ready to just pull the trigger and get this done, give us a call, 480-750-7788. Our first appointment is really super easy. There's no pressure. It's just a discovery hour where you discover us, we discover you. And if there's something you need us to do, we'll tell you how that would work. All right. The second question has a very interesting twist. It says, I have 2 children, but one of them has special needs. How would a trust work for them both? So this is one of those unique circumstances where we already know going in that there's going to be different needs for these 2 kids. So there's just going to be different needs. We just know that. There might be more expenses for the one with special needs, or there might not be, because there are a lot of programs out there for children with special needs that cover a lot of their needs. So let's look at that, right? Now, these programs, because they are set up, so in Arizona, while you're under the age of 18 and you basically don't own any assets, especially if you are somebody with special needs, then you automatically qualify for a lot of these services. And if you're a parent of it and you have a child with special needs, you've got to look into those programs. There are a lot of great support tools out there for you, and make sure your child gets the best opportunities. So how's it going to work differently if you, the parent, were to pass away and these were your 2 kids? Well, first, if you don't set something up, they are now 100% inheriting all your money, your assets, your property, everything. What will happen is that your child with special needs can immediately be disqualified from all of those programs because now they have money. And that's a problem because that can completely disrupt their life if they already have a really good routine of great providers who are providing them with the stability that they need. So don't let that happen. The way you do that is you say, I'm setting them up with a special needs trust. So that's something that is allowed under all these benefits for special needs kids, is for you to set up a special needs trust. So the way it would work is if you pass away, you say in your trust, hey, we're setting up a special needs trust for one child and a regular trust for the other, okay? And you blend it so that if one needs more, that's okay. It's allowed. Your trustee can do that. And then they can sort of act like you would have as the parent, okay? Because you may have spent more money on one than the other. You would have been okay with that. You'll put somebody in charge of the money who's also okay doing that. And that's how you would deal with this. So then both kids get all the resources that they need when they need them. Now, at a certain age, they're going to have to make a division of those funds, and you can figure out and decide when that is. That was a good question. Now, there's lots more to cover on special needs trust, which we'll cover on an upcoming episode. What I encourage you guys to do next is to pick up the phone and give our office a call, 480-750-7788. You can also just jump on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and fill out and get today's checklist for how to protect your kids from this. We'll send it to you, email, free of charge, obviously. There's no cost for that. Just jump on and get it. You'll get today's checklist. And then join us next week. I invite you back because what we're going to cover next time is a question that just exploded into a whole episode for me, which was, can you create a trust in 3 minutes? Can you create a trust in 3 minutes? I think you can. And so we're going to talk about how to do that. But if you need help on this or on any issue related to wills or trusts, estate planning, or if you're in a probate mess, or you're trying to take care of a parent who is aging and is struggling, give us a call. We'll point you in some free resources. We'll send you a copy of my free book. We'll do whatever. We'll get you the help you need. It's 480-750-7788. Shoot us an email, radio@keystonelawfirm.com, or leave us a comment or send us a message on Facebook, and we'd be happy to get back to you and send you whatever resources we can. Thanks for joining us. Go out there, live your legacy by living out your family's values. Take care, everybody.